Hello, wrenches, and welcome to the Wrench Turners Podcast, 10 Mil Mastery Edition. This week, we got a great episode for you. But first, I am Joshua Taylor, founder and CEO of WrenchTurners.online, a business helping mechanics and service leaders be happier and more productive in the service department. We provide products like the Wrench Turners Wellness Survey, a product and more specifically a service to help service leaders diagnose the challenges facing their technicians in their current working environment, and a service called the Reverse Interview, digital content that helps bring mechanics to your store. We appreciate all of you listening, watching, all of the content going across all of our channels. We really do appreciate it. It really helps bring attention to the important mental and physical and emotional needs of technicians in today's automotive industry. But we want to spread it as far and as wide as we can, so we really appreciate if you like, comment, share, and subscribe on your streaming services of choice. Tucking into today's show, my guests of this series have been, and continue to be, Richard Mueller, Marshall Sheldon, and Stephan Dos Santos. Leaders in their own shops across industries. We have HD, we have GM, and we have Audi. In today's episode, we get into a more specific area. We're talking about apprentices and how we, or how our businesses and our in very specific community, how do we get them involved in their own training and development? Let's get into it. Flip there. So let's tuck into the next one. Richard, what did you, after gleaning all that, what specific, maybe even pulling from the list that we had talked about earlier on, what's the one question you want to ask the boys?
Well, I'll just continue on what you were talking about is how do we as leaders get our apprentices or even the guys in the shop to push forward with their development, right? And I guess I'll go first on that. I have two new guys that are in the shop. They are one's a level 2, one's a level 3 Dodge certified technician into the GM world. They both jumped in, they both came from the same shop. They've both jumped in. They're both great personalities. But now I'm finding myself, I have to turn around and build training plans for them. I have to step up as the shop foreman, and I have to build the direction I need them to go in. They have their certs for the Dodge side, and but I need to now cater the GM side of training to get them to where I need to get them to. But how do I need to? So what I need to do is I need to start. I have two other journeymen that I have mild GM experience, but I need to basically sit them down and build training plans for them, because like you had just touched on, the first thing I need to do with them is get them on the mentality of, stop putting your hand out. At the end of the day, yes, training, like OEM training is a part of every dealership technician. If you don't do OEM training at some shops, they will not let you touch a vehicle. There's the door. You can go to Down the Road Motors and go find another location to work at. I need to work on my crew with the mentality that, yes, this training does benefit the dealership, but at the end of the day, if you walk out that door and leave, you're the one leaving with that training and with that skill set. That follows you for the rest of your life. This is a benefit for you, not, yes, there's some key benefit to the dealership having trained technicians, but at the end of the day, this progresses your skill set. If you can't see the value in that, then why am I putting the effort into keeping you here, right? So
let me jump in real quick. I'm gonna. Yeah. Some folks haven't necessarily understood or heard of the Wrench Turners Wellness Survey, so I'm gonna add a little data in here, some objective data in here for those listening.
So Richard's talking about certifications and brand certification levels and so on and so forth. And every brand has a different name for it. Most of the time, Master Tech is the word that's tossed around. I don't like the name Master Tech used in the volume that it is. I really don't like that because Master Tech implies that you are done your brand training. It's not how it's built. It's not how it's labeled. I don't like it. I believe that nomenclature needs to get removed and we need to go back to basics in terms of levels and things like that. And that's why I reframed the survey into levels. So when people answer the survey, it's level 1 completed. And people are scratching their heads and I'm getting, service leaders asking, okay, what does level 1, level 2, level 3 mean? Well, level 1 complete means all of their basic training, right? You go onto the brand, you go onto whatever portal, whatever LMS that brand uses, and you get all of the basic training done for every category. Level 1 complete. Every category of basic training done. Level 2 complete is intermediate. So the next course that requires your basic training to be complete, that is intermediate training. That is level 2. Level 2 complete means all of the intermediate level training. Level 3 is the advanced level stuff in every category. In every category complete. So using this nomenclature, now that you've heard it, based on the survey results, level 2 complete technicians, they can range from 2 years in the trade to 20 plus years in the trade. Level 2 certified technicians in America, because all of my data is American, and I realize there's 3 Canadians on today's recording and only 1 American, and the 1 American on the call is HD, not automotive, so this contextually may or may not apply to HD. Haven't got that far yet, but we will be diving into that in the not too distant future. But the information I have right now, if you are a level 2 trained technician, brand technical trained technician or less, you are not likely to make more than 60 grand a year US. Period. End of chat. There is almost no exceptions. There is almost no exceptions. It doesn't matter how many hours you turn in a year. Based on your hourly rate of pay, based on your bonus structures, if you have one, based on your this, that, and the other, you're not likely to make more than 60 grand a year. There's basically a level 2 ceiling. If you
That's
have
base
your
pay.
level, that's basic. No, that's not base pay. That's all inclusive. So part of the survey is technicians tell me what their base rate of pay is, so I understand what that is. But the total income, so I get them to tell me
Okay.
what their level completes are, and I get them to tell me what their total income is for the previous year or the previous 12 months, and they give me a number. And everybody that's submitted and everybody that's a level 2 certified complete level 2 is 60 grand or less. All right. Anyone with level 3 starts at roughly 80. There is almost a complete void of income between $60,000 a year and $80,000 a year. So you want to make $20,000 extra a year? Basically, just get your level 3 certified. And that's what Richard's talking about. Dodge certified tech coming into a GM store needs to get his GM technician certification because even those that have lots of experience still aren't making any money. And here's the caveat here, folks. If you're not listening, you haven't watched some of the other content that I've made and some of the stuff that's on YouTube, and you can consume it on there so you can get it even more data and look at it because I put it on there as well. The level 3 techs that have 10 years or more, their average income is $110,000 a year. Average. So I have techs with level 3 completed only or more. So the ones with the specialties are significantly more than that. The ones with level, well, quote unquote, level 4, because I stopped at level 3. Level 4 gets messy because every different brand has level 4. Sometimes I have level 5 and level 6 and blah, 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 blah. So I look at 1 to 3 and then plus. Level 3, 10 years, average income is 110. Okay, just take that a note. And sorry, that was a bit longer than I expected, Richard. I apologize, but I want to make sure that technicians understand how exceptionally important your brand technical training is.
But that adds a huge aspect to it though too, right? Like because you get guys that are like you come to them and you're like, hey, here's your training plan. I need you to start doing your training. And at first they're all excited and they're like, yeah, great, do. They go through their training and then you watch them and they'll slow, and they'll hit a stall point. And then you come to them, and you're like, hey, you haven't done any courses in like 3-4 weeks. What's going on? And the immediate response, I would say 90% of the time I've gotten is, I don't get paid for training, so why would I go ahead and do it? And it's like,
You do.
well, okay, well, yeah, like I'll my immediate response there is I walk them to my computer, I pull up my GM training, and I pull up my GM training and I pull up their GM training, and I say, okay, uh, how many courses have you done? And there's 60 some odd courses on there, and I'm like, okay, and I pull the screen over and I snap to my training. I'm like, how many courses have I done? And they're like, to watch their eyes wide, and they're like, holy crap. And I'm like, I'm in the position I'm in because I have pushed myself to do my training. I've been a Ford master technician. I've been like multiple level master technician through Ford. I was a Nissan master technician, GM master technician. So it's I've wanted to push myself to that point. And that's the thing is, how do we as leaders, and this is going to be a multifaceted question or multifaceted answer because everybody's different. How do we start pushing the younger generation to understand that in order to grow, you have to invest in yourself, right? Like how do we get them? How do we push that point across, right?
I think we'll get Marshall's and Stefan's input here in a second. Not every dealer pays for training, and I understand that there are some that do. Some compensate in one way, compensate in another, and you and I have talked about this in the past, Richard, as well, and how some technicians are paid flat rate for their day and da 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 da. Compensating for the training is a definite help, but eloquently educating your team on how the long term benefit is financially has got to be the first way. And I think each service leader needs to have this dollar value. It needs to be like a plaque on the wall. Like, it needs to be an objective data set on the wall so they can see that over the years, technician X had 10 years in the trade and had their level 3 certification complete for X brand, and their hours produced on average was 240 a month at this rate of pay. They don't have to say who it was. They say, list the top 10 techs in the last 5 years that have worked for you as a business, and list their certification levels and list their time in trade and list their hours produced. Like, if you want to make money, you need the training, and this is why. Well, I don't get paid for training. Well, this is why. Stefan, is that something that happens in your shop? Like, do you have that kind of transparency in the shop?
We did at one point kind of post hours, but we posted hours with the technician's name, and of course, that always started the conversation of, well, no kidding, so and so makes this much because he gets all the gravy, etc. I think the best way to incentivize the training is just show them the path of what it's going to take for you to get to X amount of levels. So on the Audi side, if you want to work on the R8s, there's training involved for that. And that's the easiest way to get the younger generation interested because those cars are freaking cool and everyone gravitates to cool stuff. Now, the EV side of things might not be that cool until you actually go for a drive and realize, holy shit, these things are fast. And again, you pick into that, nomenclature of, I want to do some cool stuff at work. I want to go home and tell my wife or my parents, like, hey, I worked on something really cool today. So, Rich, I mean, with the Dodge side, I'm sure there was a Hellcat program or maybe some of the more specified vehicles. Maybe you needed training for that. Maybe you didn't. I think on the GM side, you have to be certified to work on the Corvettes. So that might be a segue to kind of get them interested to say, hey, listen, if you guys want to work on vets or some cool stuff, a little bit of training is needed. And it's not so much to, kind of punish them. It's to say, hey, look, there's some specific knowledge that you need to know about maybe even how to lift these cars, where to put your lift points, the fact that you're working with carbon fiber, you're working with more exotic materials and maybe magnesium parts and carbon ceramic brakes and stuff like that. And you start using the jargon words and you pull them in to see what's exciting for them. Some guys are not excited about anything, and you're just going to have to find that thing that maybe turns their mind and says, hey, you know what, if I jump up in my certification levels, you're not going to get paid directly for it, but over the course of 5 years, if it gets you an extra 10, 20 hours a month because it slows down and all of a sudden you're qualified for more work than other guys, that puts you at the top of the list for the next job up. This could turn into an extra week of vacation when it comes to a dollars and cents thing. So you might not be rewarded right away, but the reward's going to be there. You just got to give it the time.
I agree. That's awesome. Marshall, are you guys, you just completed a super huge final on Friday, right?
Yeah.
Where
so,
are you rewarded for that, as well as, if I recall, you said you got compensated for your training, and we've had this conversation before by compensation, but are you rewarded as well for completing said training?
Not as much as you would think, but yeah, I did just have a pretty major accomplishment in my career. So, I think everybody's familiar with Cummins, diesel engines, because they make them in Dodge pickups and everything else, right? So, right now I'm certified in the 6.7, the 8.3, the 9 liter, the 11 liter, the 12 liter, and the 15 liter engines, and every variation of those engines. So the natural gas versions, the industrial versions for like generators and marine, and so yeah, literally it's like 50 certifications, engine variations. But this one that I just finished was a master level. For the 15 liter, which is the one that I see the most in the field, and the Class 8 trucks and the commercial trucks. And so I literally I carry every certification that's possible for that engine, and I can do any repair on them. I can cut the blocks. I can do block machining. I can give them additional warranties, because like when I overhaul one, because my level of certification is so high, I can overhaul an engine and give it 3 more years of warranty just because I built it.
That's
so
crazy.
It's pretty sweet. I'm pretty pumped about it. But
the kind of value, so this is where the inverse value comes into play for employers to deploy you and your training. So when you're talking about technicians asking about, how much am I worth? What am I value? I'm not getting paid my value. You've got a gentleman like Marshall out in the field who has invested in himself and found leadership that's willing to invest in him, so much so that your business, the business you work for, can then can deploy and sell as value, that you could deliver extra warranty. That, as a technician, holds tremendous value to a customer and a business. So, I was talking about how much money you can make as a technician. You're going to make more money the higher the level you go. This is doubled down on that fact. You could say, hey, Mr. Recruiter, Mrs. Recruiter that's trying to headhunt me for another business, I'm a 15 liter certified, master level certified. Any company that I work for and work on Cummins products, I can just add 3 years of warranty to everything I touch with a 15 liter in it. Like, well, obviously there are parameters around there. I'm just kind of being vague on there. But
yeah, in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, but what kind of tremendous value that they can use to pitch for you now? That's so much money. There's so much money value in that. And I think one of the challenges in automotive, directly in automotive, is that we don't necessarily carry that kind of value in training. And maybe that's a push, Mr. or Mrs. manufacturer that happens to listen to this episode down the road that's in automotive. You get a doctor of the house, you incentivize, and I don't know whether GM and Ford have the same, or even Audi has the same nomenclature, but at Dodge, doctor of the house means you can't get more tech training. Like, you've done everything. And that's exceptionally hard to do, because there's some training that you almost can't get. Like we're talking class sizes of 5 once a year. So you get doctor of the house, you are an elite level technician, and going back 10 or 12 years, I recall there was only 4 in Canada at the time. When I was avidly asking about Dodge training, there were only 4 doctors of the house in all of Canada in Dodge. So that's an elite level training level. But I know that those 4 techs, I know who they were. All 4 had exceptionally high pays, had exceptionally high vacation structures, had exceptionally high flexibility, because they could do whatever they want, because they literally could fix anything and walk into any Dodge store. They knew they could literally roll their toolbox down the street to another Dodge store and get as high a rate as they were making. So if we're talking about reasons to reward or make our apprentices and young technicians understand what the value in training is, that's gotta be one. It's one thing, you're gonna make more money as you progress your certifications, but you get to the top of that food chain, you can start to dictate things that can happen. You start to deploy warranties at a certain level. Like these are major rewards from both technician and business side. So awesome question there. Awesome question there.
I'll tell you one thing I do, Josh.
Go right ahead.
What I like to do with my apprentices is I just get out I got a scratch pad so I can take notes if customers call me or whatever, because I'm in the field. But when I got an apprentice, especially a new one, that first week we're getting to know each other. That second week, I start implementing some stuff. So I give them 1 hour. I started off 1 hour a week to do training. It's paid. So when we're driving to a location, it's 2 hours away, you're going to have your headphones on and you're going to be doing training. I'm driving. Now I've got apprentices that would come in at the end of the day and bill their 1 hour and do their training that way every Friday. I had one that I give them time to do training on the clock. Well, my management team allows me to do that, thankfully. Now, that being said, is what I like to do is I like to write down their base pay. Hey, this is what you make. I know we're not flat rate, so this would probably be different for you guys, but we write down what they make per hour. This is what your gross is in 1 week, 40 hours. This is what your overtime rate is. This is what you get paid for 5 hours. And then I like to recommend that they set a salary goal. So salary goal for 1 year, and then we'll see where you're at 1 year. So that's what I typically do with them. And then I let them know, hey, when you complete all of the Kenworth basic training, I want you to have that done in 90 days. Because that's when the first review is. You're going to sit down with the management team at 90 days and you're going to say, hey, all of my Kenworth basics is done. And if they're stupid if they're not giving you a bump in pay. And I've yet to have an apprentice go to their 90-day and not get a bump.
Oh no! That's the end of another episode. But in one of these places or one of these places over here, you might be able to click the episode that's coming up, or previous, or one that's just right for you. Either way, you should keep watching the Wrench Turners podcast, or keep listening to the Wrench Turners podcast. Either way, you should keep listening to the Wrench Turners podcast. Have I said the Wrench Turners podcast enough that you like, comment, or share the Wrench Turners podcast? I hope so. I hope so, because I really appreciate all of you for listening and watching and sharing the show. And gentlemen, it's been an honor and continues to be an honor having you in my life, being able to share these life experiences with these great people and spreading awareness and bringing attention to the mental, emotional, and physical challenges of technicians today. If you happen to be out there listening and have questions about the show, about the business, about the services, about the reverse interview, about an upcoming announcement, about product and service, and or existing service, our Wrench Turners Wellness Survey, or any information that can be led from that, please reach out to me, Joshua, at leader, the email is leader@justworkhard.com. Thank you again for listening, and don't forget, negative pushes, positive pulls, and always clean your toys before you put them away.